Hello everyone! So this is kind of a different video. Today is the 1-year anniversary since my trip to France, and I still keep thinking about it and noticing ways that it's changed me. It was such an incredible journey and I really learned a lot from this trip that I still incorporate into my day-to-day life. So I wanted to put this video together and share a bit of what I learned and what it still means to me a year later. Enjoy! The 10-day trip was part of a creative writing class at the University of Windsor where I study, and it was led by Professor Marty Gervais, who's a writer, journalist, photographer, and publisher. On the trip were about 10 other students, most of whom I didn't know. I was unsure of what I'd find in France, but I was ready to challenge myself and excited to go on this new adventure. We met up at the airport, flew to France, and went to an art retreat called La Roche-Tilly in Burgundy in the countryside where we'd be staying. The retreat is run by two wonderful people named Howard and Jeanette who are so welcoming and kind to all of us, and they're awesome cooks. And this was the spectacular view from the backyard. When we went up to our rooms, there came my first challenge. Bugs. I mean, I knew we were in the countryside, but still, I am terrified of bugs, especially spiders, and right above my head was "Hello, Mr. Spider." It was definitely something that I had to get used to, and by the end of the trip, seeing a bee in the sink didn't even faze me, although the spider on my pillow did. The next day, I learned one of the biggest things that I still use today. You see, each morning Jeanette did these exercises with us to get us all warmed up and ready for the day, and she always ended it with this. Yup, say yes. That was our motto in France. It gave us a sense of confidence, adventure, and positivity, and it was definitely something that influenced me. Since then, I find myself saying yes to opportunities so much more, and as a result, I've been able to experience new things, meet new people, and just grow. It's a lot more fun, and I think you guys should try it. We also had a workshop about Ernest Hemingway's A Movable Feast and Morley Callahan's That Summer in Paris. We discussed a bunch of themes and quotes and how they reflected our experience in France. After coming home, I wrote a piece about that and I've linked it in the description below. Because it was a creative writing trip, we had to keep a journal and write a lot, and I did, everywhere. And most nights I'd fall asleep with my face in my journal and a pen still in my hand. On the second day in Burgundy, something special happened. We had to partner up with a person we didn't know, interview them, and write a little profile on them. So this is where I interviewed my partner Carly. Side note, Carly's actually a writer and you can follow her amazing journey on her blog, which is linked below. So we began asking each other questions. Then I found out that my interview with Carly was going to be filmed for a project someone was doing. So I had no preparation, no questions at hand, nothing. And this was the first time that I was ever filmed interviewing someone. So I was definitely nervous, but I just had to go through it. And while it was happening, it felt incredible. Our conversation/interview became so deep and raw that I actually started tearing up. Thankfully, this part came after the camera was turned off. And then this happened.
Do you want me to say anything?
I don't know. If you want to say something, what do you want to say?
Yeah, it was just my pleasure to interview with the next Oprah. Asil. Moussa.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
It just showed me that even though I was super nervous, I was able to do it, and it was so reassuring to know that you can do whatever you dreamed of doing, and if you share your passion, people will support you. I learned so much from Carly, especially about having courage and being present. The first couple of days in Burgundy, we did a lot of sightseeing. We also met some really cool people. Oh, and while she was talking to us, we saw a snake in the cottage. Yeah, pretty creepy. My favorite time of the day was the poetry reading that we'd have each night after dinner. And if you didn't have poetry, you could read a short story, a letter, or sing, or really anything that you wanted to share. I get super terrified reading my own work out loud in front of people, so the first 2 days there, I read poems that weren't my own. But on the third day, I read a poem that I wrote, and I got a really good response, and that gave me the confidence to read my own poetry from then on. We would literally be reading and sharing laughs until 11 p.m. over dessert. I definitely want to do this when I grow up and have a family because it really did bring us closer together and it was so much fun. After about a week, we left Burgundy and went to Paris. And then we went to my favorite bookstore ever, Shakespeare & Company. I cannot even tell you how much I love this place. It's basically the reason why I wanted to go on this France trip so badly. The first time I visited, it felt like home, and I promised myself that I'd stay there while writing a book. This time though, we only had a few minutes to roam the store, and there was something that I really wanted to do. You see, I had made a little collection of my poems and stories for my creative writing class a few months before, and part of the assignment was to kind of secretly leave it in random public places. And I had brought 2 copies with me to France, and I left one of them on a podium upstairs in Shakespeare & Company. And, funny story, the photo on the cover is actually a photo that I took inside Shakespeare & Company the first time I visited a few years before. Crazy how life does that. Anyway, after that we visited a man that I think really changed our perspectives on life. His name is Jim Haynes, and he is the coolest, most legendary person I have ever met. He's like the real life Great Gatsby, seriously. We sat in his living room as he told us about the Sunday dinners that he has that over 100 people from all over the world come to. Side note, this part kind of reminds me of my mom because she loves hosting people. And now on my bucket list is to have dinner at Jim Haynes' house on a Sunday. He had so many words of wisdom, and one that I remember was when he said, "People travel to see places, but I travel to see friends, especially those I've never met." And that just blew my mind. It was such an amazing thing. Somewhere in the conversation, someone said that we were going back to Burgundy that day. And Jim responded by saying, "Don't ever say you're going back. No one ever goes back anywhere. We always go forward in life." And that really stuck with me. I try to incorporate it into my daily thinking, and it makes me look at every minute, doesn't matter where I am, as a new one. Before we left, we bought his books and got them signed. I bought his book called Thanks for Coming, which is an autobiography with John Lennon, Lord Goodman, Yoko Ono, Mick Jagger, and so many more cool people. And he signed it with, "Asil, you are lovely, come again." At 80-something years old, he is so full of life and joy and energy, and he just does so much. After leaving his house, it really hit me how much I enjoyed meeting him and how much it changed me. The theme in France, I realized, is connecting with people and how that connection can lead to a fuller, happier life. That's definitely an attitude that Jim embodies, and it's also what made our dinners and nightly readings in Burgundy so amazing. I learned in France the importance of dinner parties and what that really means, and it's not about panicking over every single tiny thing to make sure the food and everything is great. And the food was amazing there, by the way. But the preparation was always so calm, and dinner was, yes, about enjoying the food, but also about having great conversations, connecting, and being fully present. I hope that I can have dinners like that when I grow up. On my last night in Burgundy, all of this kind of hit me at once, and I wrote about it for a really long time. You can read some of what I wrote in the link below. The next day, right before we hopped on the train to Paris, I left the second collection of my work at La Roche-Dye upstairs on a shelf near my bed. It felt right to leave it there, and it had all the poems that I had read in our evening readings inside. And then we went to Paris again. We later had dinner at the oldest restaurant in Paris called Le Propos. And after that, we all took a walk by the Seine River. It was the perfect ending to our trip together. We had become some weird sort of supportive, inspirational, creative family.
Am I on video now?
Yeah, you're on video.
I'm on video.
Yep.
Okay, I figured out
But you can't get my hands in.
Perfect. Yep, you can do whatever you want after that. Okay. And and the belief that they had in me just knowing me for 10 days reminds me every day to believe in myself. The next morning we left to Canada, but I don't think France ever really left us. I came back with a bunch of things that I incorporated into my life, and I love how a different culture and people can show you that. One of the great things about traveling is that it takes you out of your comfort zone, and it gives you the freedom and confidence to be your true self and do things that you were always afraid of doing. And along the way, you learn and discover so much about life and yourself, and this was definitely the case for me in this trip. So I encourage you all to travel in the full sense of that word, so actually connect with people and places and have experiences, because travel really is the best teacher and it's life-changing, just like how the very best teachers are. So be courageous, say yes, and live the life you want. Now I want to hear your stories. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever traveled and on that trip learned something that you still value today. I can't wait to read what you guys share. Also, I'd love to know what you thought of this video and if you'd like to see more of this kind of stuff, or what other kind of content would you like to see. So if you'd like, leave a comment below. I really appreciate your feedback. And I guess that's everything. I hope you liked it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!